It's Mike Brennan. We're back with another segment on MITech TV. And we have with us a regular, Kathleen Norton-Schock, calling all the way from Florida. That string is very tight, so she's got very good bandwidth today, and we can see her clearly. So anyway, we're going to be talking about Michigan Council of Women in Technology. And on Saturday, I was at the VIP table for some reason at the Michigan Council on Technology's. It's not the IT prom. What is it properly called again?
Well, we kept changing the name. This is the 17th year we have done that particular fundraiser. It is the one that involves drinking and dancing and always a form of bidding, right, for things above and beyond. Shoot, it's a formal affair. It's our only formal affair. So yes, we've always called it secretly the IT prom, but we keep changing the names. And this year it was called the Celestial Ball. So folks who got honors got these beautiful orbs that they can. I was kidding Rosemary on Sunday that she can put it up in her office in Lansing, and as long as the light hits it, she can pretend to be an astronomer. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it was a great event. We had 57 sponsors, and no offense to any other event that occurs in Michigan, but we are almost always guaranteed to get some of the biggest, the most powerful leaders and shakers in technology, and those people who want their companies to continue. And if they want their companies to continue, they need to empower women in tech, period. So a lot of the money that they spend when they buy individual tickets or do a sponsorship or just buy a table goes to a lot of that, as you know. And every month I'm on here talking about a panoply of events and programs that we do to empower both girls and women. And so hopefully we'll talk about that too. But this year's sponsor was Borg Warner. It was their first year to be our signature sponsor. They've been a sponsor before. And so of the 57 sponsors, they were the one to do the most for us. But we had 56 others, and they are both large and small IT companies. We have at least one nonprofit collaborator, SIM, which is Society for Information Management. And I always kid the folks who run that because obviously in some ways they give us grants all the time because we are more senior in the sense of being older, right? I've been a volunteer for 22 years and the organization's been around 24, meaning our organization. But SIM has become a big grantee to us, a grantor rather to us. We're a grantee for them because we do scholarship programs, and so do they, but they do it on a smaller level. We do programs for middle school girls, high school girls, girls in very early stages of grammar school, and we do a lot for women leaders. So they also have a women's program now at SIM, and many of the people who are in that are strong MCWT veteran volunteers. So that's great. But all the rest are commercial companies and utilities consumers, for instance, is one of our sponsors. We have a tremendous group of organizations who support us. We can always use more, but we have a strong number of volunteers. And this year, we always do this since marketing suggested over a decade ago that we do the Outstanding Woman in Tech. We have done every year. Contest is a weird word for it, but a nomination process where people can nominate women who've done strong things in the technology industry, specifically in the state of Michigan. And this year we awarded the Woman in Tech to two people. And I kind of feel like for me, it's a double victory because one of them is one of my dearest friends and I happen to nominate the other one. And I'm sitting in Florida. I mean, it's just a coincidence, right? But they happen to be two women leaders that I think you both know. The first of them is Rosemary Bayer, who was one of the 5 founders of MCWT in the year 2002, who has gone on to have a very interesting career. She was, as an example, she worked for almost 16 years for Sun Microsystems before they were taken over by Oracle. She left Sun Microsystems to co-found the very first L3C in the state of Michigan with a friend of hers called Arden Cause, where we did software for the nonprofit world, and specifically educational software. We worked, United Way was a strong partner for us. We did that for about 9 years. During that period of time, she also would take side things, as I did as well, because we didn't take any money, right? We funded this, and so she was doing a few things, not so much for the money, but because it expanded her experience. So, for
Mm.
instance, she was a leadership trainer for Inforum when they first sponsored their Activate program, which was their very first leadership program. And for anybody else who knows, Inform is another nonprofit that specifically focuses on women, although it isn't just women in tech; it's women in all industries. She's also been a board member for over 6 years for New, which is the nonprofit enterprise at work.
Mm.
And for the last well, it's going on 7 years now. She'll be retiring from this in about a year and a half. But she is a state senator for the state of Michigan for what we call District 13, which has, I think, 16 different cities in it, including Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield. They did some movement of districts after her first term. So she wound up with some different municipalities than she had before. But in her role as state senator for the last 6 years, she has been very active on their budget committee, their audit committee, um, anything having to do with education. She's a very strong environmentalist. So that has been a very strong thing for her. But from the perspective of MCWT, she also was the first person to propose that MCWT get a grant. And
Mm.
we have now gotten from the state 2 grants, as a matter of fact, as a result of her leading that charge. I mean, we did it, but she's the person who opened up the opportunity, led the charge in Lansing, and then went hands off and said, "Okay, guys, it's up to you now." And some of those funds have gone to our leadership program, so it's all very appropriate. And then the second person who won Woman of the Year in Technology, who I happen to nominate, is also a friend of mine. Um, Her name is Mamtha Chamarthi. Mamtha has a very long, distinguished career as a leader. For instance, she was the CIO and first woman CIO for Consumers Energy, a role she held for almost 4 years. She then went on to become the chief digital officer for TRW, and when it was taken over by ZF, she continued that role at ZF for about 5 years, doing a number of things that were extraordinary for that company, which is based in Germany and
Mhm.
mainly run by men. So she was probably in fact, I know she happened to be the first woman leader of her I would call it elevation at ZF, and did some marvelous and extraordinary things there having to do with innovation and entrepreneurship internally and externally. And then she went on to become the chief digital officer for Fiat Chrysler when Chrysler was still owned by Fiat, and then moved over when it became Stellantis. She was their chief digital officer, and then she became chief of their software business growth area, which
Mm.
has been really amazing. But on top of that, she's a role model in many ways. She's a longtime supporter of MCWT, but she also is on the board of directors of Champion X, on the board of directors for Health Alliance Plan, and has been doing amazing things just to show the rest of us how you do it, right? You can be a C-level person and then go on to boards and continue your mission. And she's got probably another 30 years of mission in front of her. So pretty exciting stuff. Really excited about that. Also, Judy Asher, who was our president for the last year, having been vice president the year before, is stepping off the board this year. But I think you gentlemen heard me in January and February when we talked about the fact that we were doing a transition. And Judy went from being president to being both president and our interim acting executive director at no salary whatsoever, as we went through a transitional change and growth, right? So she did that for about 5 months. She is an amazing person. She happened to be Woman of the Year in Technology several years ago, but those things are not necessarily connected, right? Now she's going to be able to go back to being a private citizen in her career, where she's going to be doing a pretty interesting job in a healthcare concern, which I won't talk about right now. But she's being succeeded by Anita Klopfenstein, who I think you guys probably know. She's the chief information officer for Little Caesars and the Illich companies.
Mm.
And then we always do this thing where we have a vice president and president. So our vice president this coming year is a woman by the name of Christine Schuck. Christine has for 21 years also been at Consumers Energy. So she and Mamta were actually there at the same time, but she is the director of enterprise architecture there and has been doing a number of jobs at Consumers. I think the reason I'm most excited about Christine becoming our vice president is that she was instrumental in the last 4 or 5 years helping us grow something we've been talking about for a decade, which is taking us out of central Michigan and southeast Michigan into the western and northern parts of the state. So she happens to be based in Jackson, but she also has, along with Tristan Huey and a bunch of other people, we have a whole committee dedicated to expansion, been taking us into Lansing, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, bunches of places where we weren't doing events and programs before. The biggest program we have right now for girls that can still be registered for is something we call TAC IT, which is aimed at middle school girls, in particular, and early high school girls. It's a coding experience. It's pretty complex. We ask these girls and their team leaders and mentors to create mobile apps that are around the theme of giving back for good. And it's a very, very long program. I mean, literally, you can register anywhere from October 1st to December 20th. And we'll be giving a whole series of training and help sessions. The first of them start this month, Saturdays, on November 8th, 15th, and 22nd. Saturdays in December, the 6th, 13th, and 20th, and Saturdays in January, the 10th, 17th, and 24th. So girls can continue to register now. They can learn to code. They can learn to gain confidence in creating apps. And it's pretty exciting. I mean, we love this particular program. Anybody who wants to join, go to MCWT.org, go to the programs page, go to the ones that are 8 through 12, and also the early, I think we have it in 2 places. And literally they can join from now, as I said, through December 20th. They will have to have a guardian or a parent or a grandparent sign some paperwork for them. But by the way, we give away monetary prizes for this particular event, anywhere from $100 up to several thousand for the teams that win. So that's pretty exciting. And then we have some events coming up pretty quickly. Tomorrow we have a ConnectNet happening at the noon hour. It's a lunch and learn called Maturing a Cybersecurity Training Program. And the 2 speakers are from United Warehouse. And then we have a really cool program, and that's a really great one, and obviously of great use because cybersecurity is huge, as we all know these days. But speaking of huge, we also have the Chief Technology Officer for UWM being our main speaker on November 12th, which is an evening program talking about AI adoption at the workplace. And I've been doing some projects for some of my clients right now. And of course, it's a little scary that 80% of companies are trying their best to utilize AI, and only about 30% are getting results right now. And we all know that that's part of the genesis of something new. So Jason Breeze, I think his name is. Anyway, the Chief Technology Officer for UWM will be speaking, and you can register now on our events page. Additionally, we have a volunteer meeting coming up in November. It's another one of those noon things where you can get online and be talking to our leaders about what you want to volunteer for. Then 2 more are happening in November, both of them in the West. One is a University ConnectNet, Navigating Your Path from Campus to Career and Technology, taking place at Northwood University on November 13th. And then in Jackson, we're also going to have an evening event that we call The Truth About AI. And that is happening at 127 Brewing, if you want to come have a beer, on November 18th, which is a Thursday night. Again, you can go to www.mcwt.org for all of this information.